I think so. Well, good morning. Welcome to the almost empty Marion Theater here at Allen Hancock College. I hope all of you are watching our special COVID coverage. We usually kick off the day with some entertainment or something from our PCPA friends, and then obviously this morning that would have been fairly difficult to pull off. I want to give you a little idea of what we're doing. We have our social distancing protocols in place. Actually, when people come up, you'll see that they're not wearing their masks to speak here. They are away from everyone. Our staff and presenters and faculty are sitting up in the audience, socially distanced, and our staff here are all wearing their masks. So we're following the protocols as we should. And I want to thank particularly Al Garcia and Brian Dill for getting this set up. It looks like a TV set down here. We'll send some pictures out later. Jeff Allen's up running our soundboard, and of course, Melinda Martinez coordinated all of this. We were going to do just a little slideshow with everybody for our tradition of promoted and transferred employees and new employees, and it occurred to me that seemed unfair to those people who wouldn't have the opportunity for Mark Boer to come and read their names, one of the highlights of every all-staff day. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Boer, who's going to introduce you to our new and promoted staff.
Thank you, Dr. Walters. And good morning, colleagues. And we're already running. We're going to be starting out with the announcement of new and promoted staff. Hang
on, Mark, I screwed that up. We're going to go backwards, and I'll fix that. Come on. This is just like a real all-staff, isn't it? We're going backwards, right? There we go.
All right.
There's some auto timing in there, so I'll try to make it work. Well, how about if you read those names and we'll just let them scroll?
Gotcha. Well, so folks, you've already gotten a preview to our colleagues who have been transferred or promoted, but we want to recognize our new Director of Business Services, Laura Becker. In Academic Affairs, we have Equipment Specialist 1 in the Kinesiology, Recreation, and Athletics area, Armando Gonzalez-Diaz. In Student Services, we have Admissions and Records Technician 2, Heidi Kakem. And in Student Services, we have Outreach Specialist Maggie Morton. And in Learning Resources, in the Library Multimedia Services area, we have Technician Naomi Suniga. So congratulations to all of those who are promoted or transferred within the college community. And now we want to introduce you to new staff here on campus that will be joining us this fall. Community Education Technician Eric Alvarado Lopez. In Human Resources, we have Assistant Director Janelle Blue. In Student Services, Director of EOPS Care CalWorks, Vanessa Dominguez. In Facilities, Courier Didi Escalante. In Academic Affairs, Administrative Assistant 3 for Athletics, Myrna Flores. In IT Services, Systems Analyst Jessica Gao. In Business Services, Accountant Abraham Gonzalez. Auxiliary Accounting, Student Account Specialist Patrick Griffith. In Mathematics, Coordinator of the Math Center, Sylvia Gutierrez. In Business Services, Accounting Services Technician 2, Jessica Martinez. Also, in Student Services, Career Readiness Specialist, Business Partnerships, Alma Miranda. Life and Physical Science Coordinator for the STEM Center, Bryce Miyahara. In Life and Physical Sciences, Winery Operations and Lab Specialist, Kelsey Norris. In Public Safety, Program Technician, Danielle Rivera. And in Facilities, Custodian 2, Francisco Ruiz. And since you're not here in the Marion, we can give them a virtual, rousing welcome. Congratulations and welcome, everyone.
All right, thank you, Mark. This has obviously been quite a year since the world changed at spring break, and I just wanted to go through a few things that we've shared over the last couple of months, and I want to start with what our good friend Andy Densmore always says, and Andy just announced that he's going to retire in December, which will be a big change in our fire academy, but I wanted to remind us all of what Andy tells us every time we graduate a set of fire cadets.
I've learned that in responding to emergency situations, you will not rise to the occasion. You will absolutely default to your level of training.
So Andy's correct. And so this, back at spring break, this is the picture of our first socially distanced meeting to try to figure out what we were going to do. And we had another 50 or 60 people online on a Zoom call as we started to plan out how to address continuing to offer services and classes to our students throughout the spring. The spring turned out pretty well. We had a lot of students still complete their programs. We had more drops than usual, which is to be expected. And it wasn't just technology. It wasn't just the fact that students lived in large houses or large family sizes and small houses. A lot of it had to do with, insecurity about jobs and having to take care of parents or even becoming ill. So I'm proud of the fact that our faculty and staff and administration rallied to do all we could to support students and carried that through the summer and into the fall semester that we're starting right now. We did a couple of unique things that I think you should know about. One of them was we were the technology behind this campaign that's going around Santa Barbara County. We got together with the hospital and the city of Santa Maria and the Chamber of Commerce, and then we brought in the city of Guadalupe. We brought in the city of Lompoc and the Chamber in Lompoc, and we put this together across the entire community. And it's actually gaining more traction now as South County has adopted it, and the city of Santa Barbara has adopted it, and some private organizations have adopted it. We're fairly proud of this. It's just a reminder of how important it is that when you're in close contact with others to wear your mask. And if you're part of an organization, I know many of our faculty and staff are part of organizations, this is all free. So you can contact John Hooten or Public Affairs, and we can put you in touch so that your organization can adopt this. You can adopt this campaign, and we'll give you the little blue masks. Even the trustees are getting on board with the idea of having the masking program going. So we're united in this on the campus. Without a doubt, though, the most impressive thing that we did this year was our food share program, and I hope you can see that on your computer. That's a line of cars that wraps around the Children's Lab School, past Building W. It actually extends past Building O and on to college. Our public safety department has done a phenomenal job of managing traffic flow, both here and at the Lompoc Valley campus. And I wanted to share with you just a little bit what it looks like when these students, this is a student-led project, a little mentoring by Stephanie Robb and Henry Schroff, and we've seen faculty and staff out helping them. But really our former student trustee Heidi Mendiola has been the driving force for this, and I want you to see what it takes to serve 35,000 vehicles and over 110,000 people since March. So cheers certainly to that group of students and staff and faculty, and if you want to volunteer, we do food packaging on Mondays and Wednesdays, distribution on Tuesdays and Thursdays to the community, and starting this week on Wednesday afternoons, we'll have a student-only version that'll be distributed on Wednesday afternoons. So please feel free to join in to that. If you can, just contact Stephanie Robb if you're interested in volunteering for that. During the summer, we saw a lot of unrest and frustration, and you should know that the Board of Trustees adopted a resolution to support our underserved community, a Black Lives Matter resolution, and the final resolution of this said that directed me to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force, which we will be doing on Monday at College Council. I've been working with Trevor Passage on how to set that up and what it will look like. We'll discuss that and report out after College Council on Monday. We want to move quickly. We've seen some of these that are 18 months long. We want a task force that's really, really quick and keeps us moving forward. And we're going to look at every part of campus. We're going to look at every process that we do. We're going to look at every way we set up curriculum, how we deliver classes, and we're going to make sure that every student on our campus has as many barriers removed as possible so that they can be successful. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to end my part of this on a good note with some pictures from commencement that we held on Wednesday. Holly Costello was the coordinator for that, and a cast literally of hundreds of people who put that together. Public safety, the facilities group, all of the administrative offices that are here, like business services, came out and helped register. Your cabinet team and administrators were there. It was really a great day for our students. We had about 320 students graduate, walk across the stage. We actually had 1,888 individual graduates this year. So let me show you some photos from what that looked like. This young lady was very happy. These two kind of cracked me up. Cheech Regoza, who is our Biggie Club president and works with our incarcerated students program and student services, a popular face on campus. Jesse Cologne from facilities walked across stage and everybody was wearing their masks, so I didn't even hit me that that's who it was. But we're very proud of Jesse and proud of his family. And this is a picture that was actually in the Santa Maria Times. So we're excited for him in making this accomplishment. We have some family folks graduating together. Some other students and happy families. So with that, I want to turn it over to Lauren Milborn. I got to put my mask on before she walks up, though, so that she can come up safely. And we'll talk about some of the public affairs work that we've been doing. So, Lauren, it's up to you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all safe and healthy these days. Public Affairs has had a busy 6 months. A public and internal response to COVID-19 became our #1 priority. Oh, sorry about that. At the very beginning, as students were becoming discouraged, frightened, and anxious, we created a campaign to help boost their spirits and connect with them. Many of you helped contribute to the You Got This campaign with uplifting videos. One particular video captures the essence of the campaign and features our very own students. I'm not sure how to make it play. Down.
The coronavirus changed everything for Hancock students.
No more hanging out with friends at the student center.
No more cheering for our teams in the gym.
Life is so different now, and that can be scary.
We know because we're students just like you.
We're Allen Hancock Bulldogs.
And we are here for you.
On your phones?
Your laptop screen.
On your social media? Your Hancock family is just a click away.
To help you get through this.
To help you pass your classes?
To help you earn your degree.
To help you transfer to your dream university.
We will get through this together.
Because we are Hancock Bulldogs.
And you got this.
And you got this.
And you got this.
And you got this.
You got this, AHC. You got this, Allen Hancock College.
All right. In addition, the PAC was very busy collecting information to share with you all, our students and the public. A comprehensive COVID-19 updates website was built and became the hub for every update, FAQ, resource, and more. If you visit the website today, you will find the information mostly organized by resources for an intended audience and also student FAQs. Please visit www.hancockcollege.edu/COVID to check it out and let my office know if you have any additional resources you would like added. The PAC also developed a series of signage to help those on campus understand our safety protocols. Signage is now posted throughout the college. If you need signs in your area, please reach out to Vicki Hernandez in Public Affairs and she can assist you. Additionally, we developed summer and fall marketing campaigns around the You Got This theme while addressing the new online learning format. Public Affairs and Campus Graphics also partnered this spring with the county and city leaders to create the Protect, Respect, Wear Your Mask campaign. A press conference was held where many organizational leaders took part, socially distanced of course. The campaign is ongoing and the goal is to educate Santa Barbara County about the health benefits of wearing a mask during the pandemic, as Dr. Walters mentioned earlier. And speaking of masks, if you've not gotten an official Hancock mask, please let my office know and we will get you one. So Campus Graphics. During the pandemic, Campus Graphics continued their design services remotely and offered print services in-house. They created all the floor decals, posters, and wayfinding signage you now see on campus. In order to help our students, the Campus Graphics team began offering free printing to the students. They used social media to promote the services, and as you can see, 465 students used it. They made 135 name tags for nursing students, and that equated to about over $2,000 in savings to our students. And good news is they plan to continue this service into the fall and spring semesters. Students can order all their prints online and just need to pick them up safely in person. Please let your students know about this great resource. And last but not least, I want to share exciting news about the college's centennial. Although much different than the Centennial Committee had spent the last year and a half planning, we are still planning to celebrate. I'm excited to unveil this 30-second video with you all, which will soon be hitting TV screens and social media. So here we go.
Allen Hancock College is celebrating its centennial. For the past 100 years, we have been the premier higher education institution in northern Santa Barbara County. From its humble beginnings on the Santa Maria High School campus, with just 6 students in 1920, Hancock now serves 20,000 students annually at 4 locations. We're excited to celebrate 100 years of changing the odds in the community with you. Learn how you can celebrate with us at www.hancockcollege.edu/100.
And I'm very happy to announce our very first Centennial celebratory event. Please mark your calendars for September 23rd for a live virtual opening of the 75th time capsule. All of the details are to come, but we look forward to an exciting, celebratory, and safe event. Please visit hancockcollege.edu/100 for details throughout the year on the Centennial events planned. And before I hand it off to the next presenter, I wanted to express my sincere pride and thanks to Public Affairs and the Campus Graphics team. They've worked countless hours to ensure you're getting the information that you need. Whoops, sorry about that. During this unprecedented time, all while supporting our students in our enrollment goals. So thank you to Public Affairs and Campus Graphics. And with that, thank you very much and enjoy your day.
Good morning, Allen Hancock College. I guess I'll first say that if you were wondering how long it's been since mid-March, it's this long. So in case you needed a reminder. All right, well, let's get into some of what we're working on, some of what we're working with and what we're working on this fall. First of all, our enrollment, I know a lot of you have been asking, it's kind of been fluctuating a little bit. It's been trending down. So right now, this time last year, we're down almost 8% in credit. So I know this has impact on our part-time faculty the most, and certainly we hope to see some of that pick up in the days to come. What's interesting about that is that what we're seeing, the decline really, most of the decline is in students who are younger than 24 and under, which is a group that has been increasing over the past few years. So this pandemic has seemed to affect them more than some of our older students. Yet part of the context that I'd also want to point out is that as you probably know, PCPA had to, because they weren't able to provide live performances for their students to participate in, they had to cancel their classes for this semester, and that actually accounts for 3% of that total decline. I should make that clear. That's 3% of that's part of the 7% is the 3%. So as far as non-credit's been really decimated or beyond decimated by this pandemic, and I'll show you in the next slide. It's down 78%, which in total numbers is less than what we're down in credit, but it has certainly had an impact on our community and on our faculty. So let me walk you through just some of what we've lost in non-credit, just to give you a sense of how that's impacted us. The prefixes in red are the ones that have been affected the most, and as you can see, some of what we've lost are courses that are just impossible to offer in this environment. Our faculty tend to go to places where, off-site places where older adults can engage in classes like sensory awareness or arts for older adults, balance and mobility courses. These courses have, of course, been hard to offer these populations, so we've lost those courses. Same with adults with disabilities. So this just gives you a sense of why we've dropped so much in that area. As far as credit, I wanted to give you a sense of how we're offering instruction. So similar to last spring. These numbers are similar to last spring in terms of overall percentages. We're, in credit, we're roughly at 1280 total. Now that number changes day to day. So as of yesterday, I think we were about there. And 4% of those courses are taught on site, and these are of course, our CTE programs, some of our, our public safety program, and our health sciences programs, and then also auto tech and some of the other industrial technology courses. So that's 4%. That accounts for 4%. Most of the rest is online, whether it's the emergency remote teaching, which is 68%, and traditional online, which has increased a little bit for us this semester and is now at 17%. The remaining hybrid courses are courses like chemistry and some of our difficult to teach courses to teach it completely online. So those are classes where some of the instruction's done through Zoom and through Canvas, and then students are coming in, again, observing all the protocols that we've had to set up to come in and work on their lab assignments on campus. As far as community ed, just to give you again a sense of how those are being offered, most of them are being offered ERT. Of the ones that we are offering, just 2% are being offered on site, and that's our truck driving program. And that's actually being delivered, I believe, on site. And then we're also offering 73 fee-based courses that are all either ERT or online. So some of the things that we have to work on, and I sent out an email to faculty earlier this week on this, and there's a lot of work to do on this, but I believe that through the hard work of the AP&P committee and Larry Manalo and Dave DeGroot, I didn't put their names here, so now I have to think about who I'm talking about, and I'm going to leave somebody out, so I'm just going to mention those for now. And Just to give you a bit of a background, in the spring, the Chancellor's Office, first of all, does not typically allow us to teach online classes unless we've approved them through some local process for delivering online courses. And so now, of course, they allowed us to do that under the circumstances. What we did was to submit to the Chancellor's Office a blanket addendum, kind of would allow us to offer all of those courses that we offered ERT. But part of the deal that they allowed that under is that we needed to come up with a plan by the end of this semester, December 2020, to pass all of those courses through our AP&P process, our local process, to approve them for online teaching. Now, locally, we determined that ERT, emergency remote teaching, is our brand of emergency teaching that will only be, these are courses that will only be approved to teach online in the event of an emergency. And so our AP&P committee went into action and created a pathway and a process for that to happen. They created documents. They've made it really as easy as they can. I know CurricuNet can be difficult for, especially for those who don't use it all the time, but they've made it take a look at those documents. They've made it about as easy as they can, providing some language you can just input into fields. So we have a timeline, and please have your department look at that timeline. We need to move departments through the process so that we make sure we meet that December deadline. I think it's achievable, but it will require some legwork on the faculty's part. So, the courses that have to go through this process are all courses that are not currently approved for distance learning or aren't in the process or are planning to be in the process of approving for distance learning, and then are being offered ERT or were offered ERT in the spring, just so that if this or some other emergency ever happens again, we won't have to do anything. We'll just turn the switch and be able to offer those courses as ERT courses without any further work on our part. Okay, so I know that's. And then other things we need to work on, and I've been talking with Trevor about this, and he and I have talked far too much this summer, but that's just kind of the environment we're in. And we do have to resume program reviews. I know we delayed those last year for obvious reasons. We can't delay 2 years in a row. Accreditation requires us to move forward, and I know it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenging year. So this list, I'll tell you now, this list could have been longer. We trimmed it a little bit because I think we need to recognize that all of you are working extra hard and have been working all summer extra hard on getting your classes ready. So we acknowledge that. At the same time, these are the things that we, for accreditation purposes, and really for the quality of our academic programs, need to resume. So just to give you an overview of what we're missing, we typically have about 10 or 12 programs coming up for review every year. We have 12 due for this year. 11 were delayed from last year, and I think 1 or 2 might have gotten turned in of those. I'm not sure. And then we have 7 long overdue, or some of them long overdue. And in fact, Paul and I were talking. We have a midterm report for accreditation due this fall. And 4 of the programs that were identified as part of that the follow-up report are programs that didn't have program reviews. They still don't have program reviews. So we need to get that done. Annual updates. We will be resuming those as well as part of that overall program review process. And then program assessment. There's a little bit of work to do. I know the Faculty Senate has approved a program review change in assessment for programs, but we have some details to work out, and we're going to work on that this fall so that we can get program assessment up and running. The last thing I'll say is I don't have a slide for it because they were going to talk about it later, but I wanted to mention that the work of the Guided Pathways group, they've worked all summer. You've probably seen their emails. They're continuing to push forward with the Guided Pathways, trying to transform the way that we do things. Please participate as you can in that process. But you'll hear more later. I just want to thank Antonio, and I can't see you. Jenny. She's sitting right over there. We talked earlier. So I just want to thank them for their work and for the hard work of all of our Guided Pathway leads. And I'll pass it on to Dr. Noemi Ornelas.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I know this is a little different this year, and usually during this time of year, everyone's pretty excited in student services in all areas because we're waiting for our students to come, and students are getting ready for their classes. They're purchasing books, and I want to share that excitement is still there in our students. Speaking to students over the phone, seeing some students face-to-face, they are really excited. There are some challenges with some students, and today I'm just going to talk about what we've done to help our students this semester. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we realized as we went into the pandemic the challenges that our students had with identifying where our resources were. We have so many resources for students. We have counseling, we have financial aid, we have tutoring, we have our library, we have so many services, yet our students were struggling to find where to locate all of our services. So we collaborated with Public Affairs and IT to develop a web page for our students. And the nice thing about this is that it's actually available for staff and faculty as well to help guide us through the pandemic. We don't know when it will end, and so our goal is to really just strengthen our communication and the resources that we have for our students and for you as faculty and staff. So the goal of the resource page is really to point our students into different areas and have them get the information in one spot. The goal is for us to also share this information out to students. So in the next couple of weeks, what you'll see is we will be offering student town halls where our students can log on to Zoom and get this information as well. One program that I want to talk about briefly, because we get a lot of questions, are books for students. And I'm happy to share that under the direction and leadership of Dr. Mary Patrick, the Books for Bulldog has just been great. Over the summer, we were able to provide students with access to their textbooks. We had drop-offs and pickups. And you may have seen an email go out earlier this week regarding information for Books for Bulldog. So if students need textbooks, we are here to help them with that. We also want to share that while we've gone remote, we are here to serve you as faculty and staff. So all of our student services programs have been working diligently to try to figure out the best way to communicate with not only our students, but with you as well. And so what we've done is, you may recall that when we first started going remote or online, we brought up our Cranium Cafe, and this is on your portal. You'll be able to see it. And the portal allowed us to basically set up the Cranium Cafe feature and have staff and faculty be accessible remotely for students and for staff. What we realized over the summer is that we had so many staff and faculty that were using this that it almost became overwhelming for our students. If you've used this technology, you know that there's just a lot of names and a lot of cards, and some show online and some show offline. So what we've done is we've redesigned it with the help of Christian Gardner and some other folks to set up a help desk. So as soon as students log on to Cranium Cafe, the first thing they'll see is this help desk where they'll be able to click on, and somebody will be able to help them and direct them to the correct department or to the correct individual. So we're hoping that this will help streamline and minimize the confusion for our students. And so we just launched that a couple of weeks ago, and I'm excited to share that that's really what we're hoping to accomplish, is that elimination of students being bounced around or misinformation. The other thing I want to share is that despite us going remote, it's been apparent that our students need access to campus and they need access to study spaces. So over the last several months, we've been trying to identify what is the best way and safest way to provide access to our students. And so with the help of everybody here on campus, facilities has done an amazing job, IT, everybody across campus sharing ideas and figuring out how we could help our students in the best manner. We've identified spaces for our students, and what you see in front of you is a pop-up tent. We've saw a lot of, over the summer, different areas that were set up for pickup and drop-off, whether it be a laptop, a calculator, books, book vouchers, meal cards. And what we saw was that students were wondering, where do I pick up my books? Where do I pick up my laptops? So we're looking at centralizing drop-off and pickup locations for our students. We've also developed an outreach calendar so that if a student is around campus, any staff member has access to this outreach calendar and can see, oh, today is the pickup day for computers. Let me contact IT if there's a question. Or today's the pickup for book vouchers. Let me contact EOPS. So hopefully that'll help guide us and guide our students. The other thing we've done is we have opened our doors to our students, and we've worked really hard to establish various safety protocols, and this gives you an example of what you'll see right outside of Building A. We have some guidelines and education for our students and our visitors who are here on campus that need to utilize our building. And with the help of Public Affairs, we have different floor markers to help guide our students as well. And if you're wondering whose shoes those are my shoes. I spent a lot of time wearing tennis shoes this summer, and so someone had asked me yesterday, whose shoes are those? I was like, those are mine. But these floor markers really help guide our students throughout the building. And what you'll see is we have our help desk. It may be difficult to see in the picture, but we have germ guards or plexiglass there for our support staff, our student ambassadors who are working there. And the goal is really to begin to identify what the needs are at that help desk so that we can triage the support that the students need. The students are able to get direction there, but they're also getting educated on different safety practices. We have a lot of hand sanitizer, we have Kleenex, we have limits to how many students can use the elevators. So there's a lot of safety protocols and practices. And as you may recall, you may have received an email or already completed the COVID-19 training that HR sent out. We've also installed glass in all of our admissions and records and financial aid areas. That has helped our staff and protecting our staff and our students from minimizing risk of COVID-19. The stanchions help provide that barrier, and we've also gotten creative with how we process paperwork. So we have a drop-off box, we have students scanning. So really using the technology that we have to support our students. And believe it or not, it's also created some efficiencies in some areas. This gives you an example of the computers as well. We worked with IT to get the computers relocated so that we could support our social distancing. And here is another just example of how we're trying to guide our students through the area. This is upstairs in Building A by our testing center. We had a backlog of over 200 students that were needing to take their GED high set testing. And so with the help of Monique, our coordinator there, she's been instrumental in really helping that and serving our students. So I'm happy to share that. The other thing I want to share is that we are developing different schedules for services. So the pandemic plan clearly outlines different information and how services will be delivered. One example is that we are sharing some spaces where students need support. So when the testing center and testing is not taking place, we have the ability to provide services for our Aim to Dream students in that center. We've also had to reconfigure some of our spaces. This is our Learning Assistance Program, and the Learning Assistance Program has also limited access to students with specific equipment and computers. So we are mostly taking appointments, but there are some students that are dropping in, so we're trying to accommodate them as best as possible. The other thing in the building is that we are limiting entrances and exits. So we do have one entrance to Building A, and we also have exit signs throughout the building so that students know that they have to be able to go in through one area. We've also been working on safe study spaces. During the last couple of weeks, Dr. Curry, Dr. Speck, Jim in Facilities, and Dr. Mary Patrick have worked on looking at what ideal study spaces would work for our students. And so this is just a screenshot of some of our study spaces. But what we've identified is we've identified some spaces where students have to schedule an appointment, but we've also identified spaces where students could drop in and utilize our computers. We've also heard from our students that they need expanded hours. The 8 to 5 is not going to work for all of our students. So we've expanded hours into the evening to allow our students to come in and access the buildings if they need to connect to Wi-Fi or use some technology. And the Lompoc Valley Center is also included in that. Here is the library, and they have marked areas, entrances, and exits. They also have study spaces, designated study spaces for students as well. Here's a picture of the Academic Resource Center, and there's also germ guards there. As you can see, there's also the signage, just creating some more awareness and educating individuals that are using the space on healthy hygiene and safety practices. That's another picture. So there are limited use of computers, so computers are marked to allow us to maintain the social distancing and also make sure that students have the ample space to study. This gives you an idea of a classroom that has been modified to allow for social distancing. This is in Building K. So our classrooms have been used or will be used for students to come in, and if they have a laptop, they can come in and use the study space that they have. We also have signs on the doors, and we'll be installing hand sanitizers for students to also practice safety and hygiene in the classrooms or in the spaces that they're using. With the help of IT, we've also been able to expand our Wi-Fi access, so students will have access to Wi-Fi in the parking lot and in the commons. This map identifies where the students can drive up to campus and use the Wi-Fi. If they have a class and they're having challenges, this might be an option for students who maybe do not want to get out of their vehicle or have some restrictions. Using the Wi-Fi was something that we received a lot of concerns about from our students and even some faculty. So as much as we would like to provide all of our students hotspots, we don't have that capacity or capability. So this is another alternative for our students. And the last thing I want to talk about is just the ongoing theme in student services, which is really continuing to remove barriers for students to create access and success. So I want to highlight a couple of things that we are doing and that we will continue to work on throughout this year. The first is the Food Share Because We Care. This program has been instrumental for our students. Food insecurities is a reality for not only our students, but our community as well. And we are going to be adding additional days for our students to access food and get what they need from the college. We also want to remind everybody that we launched our Basic Needs Office, and it is open for our students. So the Basic Needs Initiative really is an umbrella and an expansion of the Student Emergency Fund. Only it's a lot better because we've centralized the services for our students. So we have services for housing, childcare, emergency funding. There's so many resources, mental health. If you have a student who needs support, please contact the Basic Needs Office, and they will be able to help them with their needs. I wanted to share a special and wanted to give a special acknowledgement to the Financial Aid Office, who I think has just been instrumental in helping our students during this difficult time. A lot of our students, as you're aware, are challenged financially, and college affordability makes it difficult for our students to be successful or to even step on our campus. So over the last couple of months, and I would say even year, they've been working really hard to look at our internal practices and processes and procedures. And with that, they've been able to examine and look at where the gaps are in our services to students. And I'm happy to share that this year already, after the first fall disbursement, we're up in dispersing over $870 to our students. And the thing that this slide doesn't capture is that last year around this time, we had dispersed, I think, over 850 students. This year, it's over 1,400 students. So if you have a chance to contact the Financial Aid Office, please thank them for all of the hard work that they're doing. This will hopefully help our students be more prepared with the supplies and materials and support that they need for the semester to begin. And along those notes, I want to just, I sometimes speak to faculty and staff, and they ask, how can we help? How can we help our students? I'm not a financial aid expert, or I don't know everything about student services. And there is a way that you can help. I'm going to share a story and then circle back on how we can help. When we first went into the pandemic, a lot of our students lost their jobs. And we were scrambling, working with the foundation, working with our student equity funds to put dollars together to support our emergency fund. And we were getting a lot of requests, but there's one request that stands out to me. It was a student, and she requested $1,400. And her reasoning was that she had lost her job and she wasn't sure how she was going to pay for her rent. So I called her and I started talking to her to see how we could help her. And one of the things that I noticed was that she hadn't filled out her financial aid application, her FAFSA. And so I asked her, did you know that you might be able to qualify for our fee waiver program, which is our California Promise Grant? And she shared, oh, no, I don't think I'm going to qualify. And I said, please fill that out, because if you fill it out, you can get refunded what you paid for the fall and what you've paid in the spring for your tuition. And we walked her through that process. And filling out that application alone, we were able to work with financial aid, cashiering, and she was able to get her tuition refunded for fall, winter, and spring, and that totaled $1,400. And she just couldn't believe it. She was so relieved and just felt a big sigh of being able to continue in her classes. And I'm happy to share that she was able to pass her classes successfully. So just filling out this form can help us help students in so many ways. It helps guide us, it helps give them options, and it helps expand our resources in terms of our funding levels. So I encourage you to please help us help our students by having them fill out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you on Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the virtual semester. I just have a couple of slides for you. Oops. So last spring, we had planned on offering quite a few in-person professional development opportunities with regard to diversity, equity, inclusion. We had our Equity Ambassador program scheduled, and we were quite proud of. Unfortunately, for obvious reasons, all of those in-person professional development opportunities were postponed. They will happen, but they're postponed for now. So what we did was we engaged Just Communities, and we said we'd really like to continue to offer something in the fall. Can we set up a series of webinars related to DEI? So what we've done with our partnership with Just Communities is we've developed a webinar series on implicit bias and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as you can see, the first session is in September. This is open to everyone on campus. I believe we're only limited to 300 participants. And if we fill those slots, then we'll offer it again. But I want to make sure that everyone knows that this opportunity is available. We'll send out an invitation later today, and you'll have a link where you can RSVP. As you can see, walking through the program, you know, it's meant to be a series, so we encourage you to attend all if you can. If you can't attend all, I would say attend as many as you can, but the program builds on itself. So look for that. Along the same lines as professional development, but more on the regulatory side, I'm happy to let everyone know that we will no longer be using SIPE, or aka getsafetytrain.com, for our regulatory training. We're able to offer all those programs through Keenan Safe Colleges. The content is much more dynamic, and so far our first launch will be our annual regulatory training, so sexual harassment under Senate Bill 1343, every 2 years, 1 hour for every 2 years for non-management, and 2 hours every 2 years for management. So if you have not done sexual harassment training within the last 2 years, you are due, and you'll see that hitting your email soon. Title IX training, the Office of Civil Rights requires that we train all of our employees on the basic requirements of Title IX, and then there are others on campus who will need a deeper dive, but that training will be coming up as well. And of course, every year we're responsible for our mandated reporter training. Be on the lookout for those messages. You'll be going to Keenan Safe Colleges, and you'll be using your Hancock credentials for that. So everything from now moving forward will no longer be in getsafetytrain.com. A couple more things before I hand it out to Eric Smith. Just wanted to plug Benefits Open Enrollment. Benefits Open Enrollment closes next Friday, the 21st. My understanding is there's quite a few individuals who have not taken action, and I just want to remind folks, whether you waive medical or not, There are a couple actions that you have to take this year, so please do that. We'll have additional communications coming out with all of that information, so please respond and take action on your benefits. And then lastly, for those of you who are on campus, and even for those of you who are not, I just want to remind everybody, please wear your mask and wash and sanitize your hands regularly and maintain a distance of no less than 6 feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruben. Wow, it's surreal. I can't believe it's been a year since I stood on this stage, and I'm somewhat disadvantaged. I can't tell the length of time by my hair like Dr. Curry can. So, but seriously, I just have a few things to talk about, and I can figure out how to move the slide. There we go. I'm representing Finance and Administrative Services, and the first thing I want to talk about is the budget. When the pandemic hit, we were all struggling with it in mid-March. By mid-April, we were grappling with a new crisis. The state came out and told us that the state's deficit was $54 billion. That's billion with a B. So obviously we were alarmed relative to how that was going to translate to our own budget. And when the May revise was proposed by the governor, we saw what amounted to a 10% cut or decrease to our operational funding on the unrestricted side. So that resulted in roughly 6.3 budget deficit, $6.3 million budget deficit or operating deficit, and we were frantically trying to figure out how we were going to resolve that. While working with the Cabinet and Budget Council, we did craft a plan knowing that we had to adopt a tentative budget by July, and given that we only had 6 weeks to put something together, I think we put together a pretty good plan. And our plan was really predicated on a three-prong approach. The first prong was to identify non-personnel related expenditures that we could reduce, what I call in the discretionary objects, the 4s, 5s, and 6,000s, which are supplies, equipment, and other transfers out. And the second prong was to identify personnel reductions through attrition. So where we had resignations or retirement, we systematically looked at those positions to see if we could actually continue with not filling those positions, at least for this year, and then if the budget picture got better, we could come back and look at those, at potentially filling those next year. And then the third and final prong was really using our reserves. The board has been prudent relative to putting money away in reserves over the last several years for a circumstance like this, and the circumstance has now finally hit us. So if you look at this particular slide, you can see that we had additional expenditures in our budget, which I call maintenance of efforts cost. It's the things that happen every year, step, column, COLA, things like that. They're ongoing nature. Those increase our expenditures. Then we had a decrease in revenue, which is a 10% loss in what we call our student-centered funding formula, and you can see that was roughly $5.5 million. We had other and miscellaneous revenue loss of $250,000, which translated to a $6.3 million operating or budget deficit. Our expenditure reductions, which are the ones that I just spoke about, on a line item basis, they look like this. We had vacancy savings through attrition of roughly $1.2 million. We had some across the board reductions. We reduced hourly and student workers by $400,000. We got a gift from the state that our STRS and PERS employer rate contributions decreased by $689,000. Our utility savings for fall, because we have hardly anybody on campus, was roughly $187,000. We reduced travel budgets because nobody's traveling in the pandemic of $200,000, and we reduced equipment budgets and also our general fund transfers out to other funds, and that actually gave us a savings of roughly $3.1 million. So when you add that amount, plus with about $3.1 million from reserves, we were able to balance the budget. So this is our tentative budget. Our final budget will be adopted in October. We don't anticipate much will change. We know the state has done some things differently from when we proposed the original budget, but we've actually adopted a very conservative budget. So in the event that the recession is prolonged, we'll be in a better place going into next year. The other thing I wanted to talk about on a more positive note was the Fine Arts Complex. We finally got the project out of the Division of the State Architect. We got it out to bid. We had a competitive bid, and bids were actually received on July 27th. And the board actually approved the bid on August 11th. I think most of you know the Fine Arts Complex is an 88,000 square foot building containing visual arts, applied design, graphic arts, film, dance, and music. And it will actually be constructed not too far away from here, south of the Commons. And our bid results looked like this. So the apparent low was AMG and Associates, $44,353,000. As I mentioned, the board approved the bid on August 11th. We had to forward it to the Chancellor's office because the bid is contingent on their approval. The process now is that the Chancellor's office will review the bid, share it with the Department of Finance, and then hopefully we will have an approval letter within the next 2 to 3 weeks. At that point, we will issue a notice to proceed, and we should be under construction probably mid-September. We'll be working with Public Affairs to identify a date for a groundbreaking. The project will take roughly 2 years to complete. So excited about this project. It's been a long time coming. It's funded through both state funds, Measure I funds, our general obligation bond, and a generous donation from the Patty Boyd Foundation. Well, I actually just went over that timeline. And then the other part that I did not complete or did not speak to is after the project is completed, there's demolition that will occur, buildings E, F, and O300. And I believe Dr. Specht is up to talk about technology.
Masks are always extra fun with glasses. So good morning. I'm Andy Specht. I'm the Director of Information Technology Services. I'm going to talk a little bit about some updates for this fall. We had a very busy summer, and one of the things I'm most excited to share is that we have launched a new online help desk system. So the link to this system is in the same spot as the old one on the technology page on My Hancock. Look for the little robot. We have resources for both employees and students, and you don't need to create a new account. You're able to log in with your usual My Hancock credentials. And on this page, we have a few new features. So one of them is we have a systems alert page. So if you've ever wondered, is something broken just for me, or does ITS know that this is broken? We have a page where you can look and see if there's ongoing maintenance, the status of various systems that we have, including ones that we don't control in-house, like Canvas and Adobe. And also if there's anything that's currently broken, that is unexpectedly broken, we'll let you know about it. So it's an additional resource for you to check and see, what kinds of issues we might be having, and to stay on top of all of the planned work. We have also launched a knowledge base, so no more PDFs being emailed and floating around with instructions on things. We have a consolidated spot where you are able to check out all of our resources that we have for both students and employees on how to use various technologies. So if you need to access the Wi-Fi, if you're a student taking an ERT course and you have an Adobe license, we have information for you on that. If you want to set up a Confer Zoom account as an employee, we have instructions on that too. So this is something that's growing and changing every day. So take a look around when you have some extra time, and I guarantee you'll find something interesting that you didn't know about. And the bread and butter of our help desk is the services section. So back in the day, we had paper forms and PDFs that would get sent over through campus mail to ITS if you needed access to Banner or a network share. And those days are over. So all of these request forms are now online in our help desk for things like Banner, phones, if you have an audio, if you have an AV event and you need support, the request form is on there. And we've sort of broken things down so that we have specific request forms for specific needs. So we ask different questions depending on what kind of problem you're having. And this makes sure that we have the key info that we need to work on your problem faster and also get it to the right member of ITS to work on your problems. We are continuing our student computer loaning in the fall semester. So this has been a huge project, both in the spring and it's become even bigger in the fall. The request form for this is on our help desk, and information has gone out to students on where to fill that out. We also have specialized laptops and laptops with specific software for courses that require specialized hardware or software. We'll have pickup dates in both Santa Maria and Lompoc starting on August 18th, next Tuesday. And we are urging students to complete their financial aid application before they apply for a computer to make sure they're receiving all of the resources that they have access to. I'm going to come back to an image that Dr. Ornelas shared because it's a really cool image. I don't know who created it, but thank you. Over the summer, we tripled the number of outdoor Wi-Fi spaces that we have available. And I was just testing it out this morning, and it extends pretty far. So if you want to come and use the Wi-Fi from your car, today's probably not a good day, but weather permitting, that is an option that is now available in the parking lot by the gym and also the humanities building. But it also extends pretty far onto the athletic field or the grass by K, so you can bring a lawn chair and work outside, or also in the commons between the library and the student center. So we have lots of great Wi-Fi options in addition to having Wi-Fi in every building. I want to come back to a classic topic, which is multi-factor authentication. So this is something that we launched last January, and we've been slowly increasing the number of users who are using it, the number of employees that are using it. And unfortunately, over the summer, we learned how important this is, as a number of administrator and faculty accounts were compromised. So multi-factor authentication is really the best and only systematic way to protect your My Hancock account from being compromised if your password ends up falling into the wrong hands. So to review a little bit, multi-factor authentication provides an extra prompt when you log into My Hancock or related application. It'll send you a little text to your phone or a notification to your personal email, or there's also a really nice mobile app where you can just grab a code that you enter in when you log into a site. It's available to all employees and students, and our goal by the end of the year is to have all employees using multi-factor authentication. So if you're not using it yet, check out the employee page on My Hancock. There's a little Manage Multi-Factor Authentication Settings link there. And if you are using it, I strongly urge you to check out that link too to make sure that you have all the options available to you, that your personal email is set up, your text message is set up, that you've downloaded the mobile app, because it definitely makes the experience a lot easier, and it is the best way to protect your account. And I want to end with thanking everyone for working with us and supporting us over these last few months. We're definitely operating in an emergency mode. A lot of things are different. There's a lot of new challenges with supporting employees who are half remote, half on campus. We're also trying to procure a ton of hardware that is really hard to get now. There's a lot of supply chain issues. Everyone else is also trying to buy computers, so we've been getting a little creative about finding those, but there's still gaps. There's still things coming in late, so we're going to be facing challenges with making sure that everyone has the equipment they need But we're continuing to get in new computers every day. We're continuing to work on that. So I want to thank everyone for working with us, and as long as we stay together and support each other, I know we're going to have a great semester. So thank you. I think next we have College Advancement Foundation, Dr. Hooten.
Good morning, everybody. I realize we're about an hour and 15 or 20 minutes into this, so I'm going to try to make this as short as I can. I'm John Hooten, Executive Director of College Advancement and the Foundation, and I'm going to say a little bit about what we've done in the past few months and a little bit about what's coming up in the next couple months as well. It was the 17th of March, I believe, when we sent out the email asking for donations for the Student Emergency Fund. And within just a couple of weeks, we had contributed over $50,000 to the Student Emergency Fund from the foundation. Probably about 50 of those donations came from our own faculty, staff, trustees, retirees, trustees, and even a couple of students who contributed to that. And so we paused all other fundraising, put our emphasis on supporting our students and the immediate needs. Big props to the Basic Needs Office for getting those monies out to the students, and the Santa Barbara Foundation helped out with that fund as well. So we were thoroughly pleased with the result of that. At the same time, our Institutional Grants Office kept purring along. Last year, they brought in $2.2 million in federal, state, and private grants, and that doesn't include a couple of large grants, federal grants, who the notification about has been delayed because of the pandemic, and so we're expecting a couple of other big grants coming through. But at the same time, institutional grants became our point, our spear point for FEMA response as well. And so when the time comes for us to apply for FEMA reimbursement, most of that will also go through our federal grants, or through our institutional grants office. At the same time, this $2.2 million doesn't include the $2 million that we got from the Federal CARES Act as well. And so that small but mighty office led by Leanne and Teresa has been really effective in the last few months, and big thanks to you guys for all your work. At the same time, we're still raising funds for the Hancock Promise Fund. We can publicly say that we have $3.8 million in cash and pledges. I'll tell this, I think I looked on the YouTube right before I came up, and it said we have 270 something viewers right at this moment. I'll tell you all, we're actually north of $4 million in funds raised, but we just can't announce that yet publicly. And so things are going well with that. Of course, we lost 3 or 4 months during the spring and summer, but we're going to be pivoting back to raising money for the Hancock Promise. These funds are critically important, especially not this year, but as next year's state budget comes down the pipe. We're hoping that Promise funds won't be cut. And so these private donations, all of these are private donations that'll help sustain that hallmark program to make sure that all of our first-year students can come tuition and fee-free. And so things are moving along with that quite well. You're going to hear a lot about Alex Murkison this year. He's I don't want to say our poster person for the fall, but he was a Promise student who came in from Lompoc High School last year. We have a new newsletter coming out next week that's going to have a great profile of him. He has a great story about how he survived the spring like everybody else. He had health problems along the way, non-COVID health problems, but he has a great story of how he persevered. Is entering his second year. We didn't know when we were writing the profile of him that he was going to announce a candidacy for the Lompoc School Board. And so he's actually one of our Promise students is running for public office this year. And so I think he'll have a good introduction to the rough and tumble of local politics. But we wish him all the best, and his is a great story when that comes out. Watch your email for that. At the same time, we also awarded over $500,000 in our annual scholarship program. Our scholarship committee, led by Natalie Rucobo, they were only delayed by 1 week. They got everything in process and everything awarded and out the door with only 1 week's delay through all of this. And this year's scholarship process went to, the scholarship awards went to over 300 students. We had over 450 scholarships in total that were awarded to 300 students, and we're really looking forward to starting that process again very soon. This is sort of our bread and butter as the foundation, the service that we provide the college community. When we started looking at this year's scholarship process, we noticed that there were 8 new scholarships that were all created by staff and faculty. These were all new scholarships. Some of them were $500, which is our scholarship minimum, up to several $1,000s. Some were by individuals, some were by groups. And we noticed that staff and faculty had created these from all different corners of the college. So from athletics to facilities, from institutional grants to the transfer center. We had new scholarships created by faculty and staff, either in memory of somebody or to support a particular group of students or a particular program. And we thought that was just a pretty amazing thing. And so here's some of the students, by the way, who received our scholarships this year. We did a social media campaign where they posted their picture of themselves with their little postcard there saying that they received a scholarship. That was a lot of fun. But back to the faculty and staff scholarships, this year's Pay It Forward campaign is going to focus on telling the story of those new faculty and staff scholarships and how relatively easy it is to establish a scholarship. It's a one-page form, and how inexpensive it can be for a faculty or staff person to do that, or an office to go in to create a scholarship. For less than $10 a week, you and your office can create a new scholarship. There's a minimum of $500, and so we're going to hear this fall more about some individuals and groups who have done that to benefit our students. Finally, I want to say thanks not only to the staff of College Advancement who've stuck in there, who, like all of us, have figured out how to do all this remotely, but also to all of our staff and faculty and administrators, the trustees, the retirees, the alumni, and even the students who support the foundation and the college through your financial contributions, through your volunteer time. There's a lot of people out in the community also who are supporting us, and that's our conduit from the foundation to the community to make sure that they understand the needs of our students and of our faculty and staff. And this morning I just want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody in this room. Thank you everybody out there in TV land and Zoom land for all the support for our students. With that, who's up next? Educational Master Plan, Dr. Murphy.
Well, good morning. It seemed a little strange getting all dressed up today, and it had been so long that I found some change in my pants pocket, and I wasn't even sure what it was. So, strange times. All right, so I'm going to give you a brief update on the Educational Master Plan and our ACCJC midterm report. ACCJC is our accrediting agency. So we have a draft Educational Master Plan that's been in the works for quite a while, and all of our college employers are going to have an opportunity shortly to take a look at it and provide some input. So this is just a little bit of background about that. The distinguishing features about this particular master plan include the following. One, it leverages the student journey framework. When you look at the plan, you'll see that it identifies the goals and strategies around the student journey from entry to exit, which makes it a very intuitive framework to work with, and it aligns well with our guided pathways work, which you'll hear about when I'm done here. It focuses on strategies rather than tactics or actions, and I'll return to that point shortly. But in doing that, it makes it very flexible and actionable, but also specific with some intentionality to it. It describes a process to implement the master plan. I think all of us have had moments, whether it's here or at other colleges, where you get a plan done, but you have a concern about it not being something that can lead to implementation. It might just sort of sit there. So we wanted something that would actually move the college along. And also recognize that there's other plans that exist and the importance of integrating this plan with the other plans and infusing equity through all of our actions intentionally. So as I indicated earlier, the plan is focused around the student journey, and this particular model is from Completion by Design, a very strong framework. Colleges that follow the Completion by Design model have wonderful successes in terms of increasing completion and reducing the time to completion. So the 5 points along the student journey identified in Completion by Design are connection, entry, progress, completion, and transition. And so those are the goal areas that are structured in the master plan, and when you read through the document, you'll see a very descriptive explanation of what those journey points mean, how it affects the student at each point, and then you'll get to the strategies. The pictures here on this slide are from our planning retreat that we held in February. Fortunately, we were able to complete the planning retreat in person and get some momentum going before the pandemic changed a lot of what we do. As indicated earlier, the focus of the primary part of the plan is around strategy. So what I mean by a strategy is the what, whereas a tactic or action is the how. So for example, here's strategy A1, enhance the student enrollment experience and create a community bridge by implementing strategic outreach activities and continually improving student onboarding processes. So a strategy like that gives enough specifics in terms of what we should be thinking about, but it's not so specific that it can create a situation where you can't implement it. And for example, just think about the situation we're in right now. A year ago at this time, the tactics that we would undertake to address this strategy are considerably different than how we're thinking about the world right now. We can address a strategy like this in this framework, but those activities are certainly going to be different. So we want a plan that's got that flexibility to adapt to the circumstances over time. As I mentioned earlier as well, there's an implementation component to it. We don't want this plan to sit on the shelf. We don't want to be wondering who's going to do these things. So in the plan, there is a guideline for implementation where we will identify our priority strategies, the activities, expected outcomes, the metrics to know that we're moving forward, where the responsibility lies, and a timeline. The emphasis in terms of the implementation is built around the council and committee structure. If you're not familiar already with it, you should read the Council and Committee Guideways to Decisions, CCPD. Our shared governance process for getting work done is through a council and committee structure, and that will be the framework through which we implement this plan. And importantly, this plan integrates and informs a lot of the other major college plans that we have. So for example, we're going to be beginning a new development of a new technology plan, a facilities plan. We have a student equity and achievement plan, guided pathways, enrollment management. So in the process of building this plan, we recognize that we don't want to have duplicated ideas and efforts in it. So this plan doesn't have everything that we can possibly think about, but it integrates well with these other plans and is intended to do so. As well as we recognize the opportunity to, when we have achievements and activities and strategies in these other plans, map them to this particular master plan through that implementation activity. The structure of the plan in a broader sense that I'd like people to think about is the college and all colleges have a mission, a vision, value. The mission is who we are, what we do. The vision is what we inspire to be. And of course the values are those sort of philosophical concepts that guide us. To implement the college mission and move forward in that vision, we have our master plan. We're a teaching and learning institution. That's what we're here to do. So the educational master plan is a primary mechanism through which we achieve the college mission. We have these other functional plans that integrate and support our educational activities, such as technology and facilities and student equity. And to implement all of these plans and ensure integration, we have our college processes, our councils and committees, we have a program review structure, and embedded through all of that is a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of these activities should be focused around that. The bottom part of the screen there shows the annual process through which we implement all of this. We identify our goals and strategies, the resources to accomplish those. We implement those activities, we evaluate our successes, and we go through that cycle again, a systematic process of continued improvement and evaluation. In terms of the timeline, I mentioned earlier that this has been in the works for quite a while. I'm going to skip over a lot of the activities that have happened to this point, but just for a brief overview. And the details of this are also included in the plan. I wanted to make sure that people that perhaps are not familiar with the process, have been a bit on the periphery, can get a sense of the history here. So between fall 2018 and 2019, Institutional Effectiveness Council began reviewing some sample master plans at other colleges, identified some of the models that we liked. IEC made a recommendation to College Council that we also rethink the past structure of having a separate strategic plan and educational master plan, really combine them together to make it easier to track, more transparent, and have one less plan to have to worry about. We worked on a draft mission statement, rolled it out, and in fact in the spring we had a survey for feedback. We engaged the services of the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative as a statewide funding opportunity and support program where if you've got some initiatives you want to implement and bring in some colleagues from other colleges to help. It's a free opportunity. In fact, if you go through the process, they give you money, which is quite nice. So we went through that, and I got some really good input and feedback from some of our colleagues at other colleges about the planning process, and we implemented some of those strategies. In spring 2020, we had a planning retreat. We had almost about 80 attendees there, I believe. As I said earlier, we sent out a survey for people to give some feedback on the mission statement. We discussed the draft mission statement at Academic Senate. We took the feedback from the planning retreat, where there was a day-and-a-half activity, culminating in groups identifying strategies and outcomes that would help along the student journey within that framework. IEC was the lead council in terms of working on a draft of the master plan, but we also shared a link of the document with Student Learning Council, Student Service Council, and Senate exec members for feedback. We gathered that information. We've been working with a consultant, Dr. Al Solano, who a lot of you are familiar with. He's helping us with our guided pathways. He's well known across the state in terms of his work in planning and guided pathways. He assisted with some edits of the document over the summer, and now we're ready for a large-scale review of the document. As I said, we'll be posting that shortly for everybody's input. And to make it manageable in terms of gathering the input and making revisions to the document, IEC will continue to take the lead, but be working with, again, Student Learning Council, Student Service Council, and College Council to gather feedback. All of our councils have constituency representatives from all the groups. Again, that's our shared governance mechanism. So we'll be asking people to provide their feedback through members in your representative members on those councils as we work towards completion of that document. When we have a draft ready, we'll take it forward to Academic Senate for review and approval, take it to College Council for a recommendation, and then ultimately review and approval by our Board of Trustees. Ideally, all of this happens within the fall semester so we can move forward with actually implementing this new master plan. My second topic, real briefly, is our midterm report. So all colleges go through an accreditation process. Our accrediting body requires us to complete a comprehensive self-evaluation. It used to be every 6 years, now it's 7 years. Our last self-evaluation was in fall 2016. So we're at about halfway through until our next self-evaluation. We're required to give an update on our planning initiatives, so we developed some plans as a result of that self-evaluation, and these are all around improvement and integrating these processes so that the accreditation framework and the planning that takes place isn't episodic but rather ongoing. And so we just have to provide a brief update in terms of how we're doing in response to some of the prompts in the guide and some of the recommendations from the previous visiting team. The structure of the report outline includes a response to plans arising from the self-evaluation process. So at the end of the self-evaluation document that we produced, there's a one-page area where we identified things that didn't rise to the level of being urgent to meet the standards. They're really more about self-improvement. And so now we have to reflect on what we've done to address those things. And for those of you that were involved in that process, I remember sitting in the boardroom saying, let's not have a big laundry list. One day we're going to have to respond to these, and now we do. But that will be a fairly straightforward undertaking. We have to respond to recommendations for quality improvement. So the two areas there have to do with the degree to which assessment of student learning outcomes is leading to improvement here, and I'm sure we have plenty of examples of that, as well as our progress on our institution set standards. And then we're also asked to respond to the status of our quality focus projects. The new feature of the last self-evaluation was what was called a quality focus essay. And that, in fact, is a new feature in California and the West Coast, but something that a lot of colleges in the accrediting commissions back east have been doing for quite a while. And the quality focus essay is really kind of an internal reflection on the things that we want to improve on to address student outcomes at the college. So we have to give an update on that. If you're interested in the accreditation process, our communications with the commission, the documents that we've submitted, we have a website. The link is in the upper right-hand corner there. We have a website on the public side, which we're required to have by our accrediting body. And you can go there and read a little bit about the accreditation process. You can see our last self-evaluation, the follow-up documents. There were some recommendations to meet the standards that the visiting team provided, and we did a really good job in responding to that. And in doing that, it makes this midterm report a lot easier to work on. So our only response really from the recommendations last time are on areas for quality and not to meet the standards. So those will be considerably more straightforward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jenny and Antonio to talk about guided pathways.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Ooh.
Jump in the gun there, Jenny.
I didn't even touch anything. All right. You guys are getting a sneak peek at all the things we wanted to talk to you about. So, hi, everybody. What's going on with this?
Why is it good? Oh.
I'm not pressing any buttons. It started before I got here.
All right, it looks like it calmed down right there. All right, okay. Well, apparently the stages at hand are telling us to move forward, so that's exactly what we plan on doing with guided pathways.
Even the slideshows, like, wrap it up. It's been a little too long, and we totally get it. So, hi, everybody. My name is Jenny Schroeder, and I am a professor of speech communication, and I am also one of the faculty co-leads for the Guided Pathways Committee.
My name is Antonio Ramirez. I am one of the counseling faculty as well as one of the faculty co-leads for, Yeah, that's who I am. Cool.
That's what he is and what he does. So we are really excited to be here with you today to give you an update on what we are doing with Guided Pathways. So Guided Pathways. All right. We'll just, you know. So we're promoting Dr. Walters to tech support today. All right. So Guided Pathways, the goal essentially is to, as you hopefully all know by this point, create clear curricular pathways from the point of entry to completion, essentially. And in doing so, along the way, making sure that we're providing adequate support so that our students can stay on their path, complete, and feel successful. And we've spent a lot of time over the previous semesters.
Thank you.
Telling you guys a little bit about Guided Pathways, about what Guided Pathways is. And essentially, you've probably heard about the 4 pillars of Guided Pathways: enter the path and stay on the path, and ensure learning and those sorts of things. So today we're going to take a little bit of a different approach and focus more on the why. Everything that we're doing with Guided Pathways is centered around student success. And you may remember these 6 success factors: the directed, focused, nurtured, valued, connected, and engaged. And as a campus community, we spent a lot of time thinking about what we do in our departments and what we do as individuals within these 6 factors to ensure that our students are successful in every way possible. Well, with Guided Pathways, essentially what we're trying to do is make sure that these 6 success factors are structured. So how we have our programs and our pathways and the information, and that we're all working together to provide these factors. So when we talk to you about some of the things that we've been doing and some of the things that we're going to do, we're going to emphasize a little bit about, how we feel these help students get direction and focus and feel nurtured and so forth, to really emphasize the why of what we're doing. And so, here's Antonio. He'll tell you about our highlights.
So some of our highlights for the spring and summer, which I want to first off say thank you to all the faculty and staff who have been working really diligently over the summer. Even during the spring, when we had the moment of like, are we going to continue doing this? Are we not going to continue doing this? What's this going to look like? Really pushing forward and really helping make things even more productive, I feel like, in certain senses, being able to get a lot of these things done. So when we talk about highlights, for instance, one of the first ones I want to talk about is making the move. So if you have noticed, Liz West has been sending many emails out about different trainings and different opportunities for professional development that are all homegrown. So you would have seen those come through Friday, different sessions coming up involved with that. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail about what that actually means in a couple slides from now. We were able to conduct some research and some focus groups. Again, COVID actually changed a couple of these things up for us. It was very interesting to kind of see how we had to take different approaches, get very creative when it came to things to get these different findings. And so we were able to really get some valuable research and some outputs to be able to help inform what our next steps were going to be. Dave DeGroot has been working very diligently with departments, working with program mapping, and this, as you may know who are in the department level, this is no easy feat. So it's very important that we know where we're going ourselves before we can inform our students. So I think that was actually something very important, an important practice that we had came together to do as departments to make sure that different classes are offered when we say we're going to offer them. Speaking of which, we're talking a little bit more about scheduling and the practices here at AHC. So we launched a new group over the spring, the Innovative Scheduling Group, and they've really worked really hard to look at what does scheduling actually look like at AHC, and is it being the most efficient and most equitable process for our students. So more to come for that as well. And lastly, we've identified with the scheduling different processes, looking to see if there's any gaps that we need to work with. So there's a lot of fun things that are happening within the Guided Pathways movement, and so we have many, many goals that we'd like to accomplish.
Great. So that was just a quick little highlight of what we worked on over spring and summer, and now getting into where we're going to be moving forward this fall. Our first goal is that we're going to work on revising the areas of interest. As you may recall, I believe last fall we introduced the areas of interest, which are the 11 pictured here on your screen. And so this was done through the work of, mostly through Dave DeGroot and coming to faculty departments and meetings, and then Erica in institutional effectiveness was helping to run some data analysis with those results. And this is where we landed. We mentioned when we brought this to Academic Senate last year that this was a working draft and that we were going to put it out there and still kind of keep researching and working. So our new goal is to reduce this number to 6 to 8 groups. And in order to do that, we're going to use some research that was conducted by an outside research company, as well as a student survey that we deployed over summer and will be continued to be available for the first couple weeks of fall. So all of you instructional faculty, please encourage your students to take that Canvas survey. It's going to be up for, I think, the first 2 weeks of the semester. And we're going to use that data because we really want some student feedback, and we want to make sure that our new groupings really work for students. And so once we have time to analyze that data, we hope to bring our new proposal to Academic Senate in September. And so the reason why we're doing this is really because this is what the research shows. We started with the 11, but we have 13 academic departments, so it didn't really help to narrow that as much as we had hoped to. So our research company that we hired found through some of their best practices and reviews of guided pathways efforts, as well as through focus groups with our students and staff, that really our number should be within 6 to 8 areas. And while we recognize that every academic discipline is unique and interesting and everybody wants to be their own, please know that when we send this proposal through in September, that we are doing so based on research, best practices, student feedback, and really with student interests at heart. Our next goal is to launch our new Guided Pathways website. And so again, we have an outside company working on this. And essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make the academic pages of our website more user-friendly. So we're going to incorporate a career assessment tool to help students get into an area of interest. Features so students can search by specific program or by focus area, or just even possibly what we're considering is skill set. Within these, as we get through and we have our academic pages, we're also going to include those downloadable program maps so that students know how they can get through and get their degree within that 2-year time frame. So we've been modeling a little bit of our goals off of Sierra College's website. So you can see here that they have a career assessment or browse programs, and ours is going to look a little something like this, hopefully better, right? But really what we're trying to do is, again, just get students what they need in a way that is going to be useful and meaningful to them. And so you guys will probably be hearing from us, from Dave or from Ashley Brackett, who heads our communications team for Guided Pathways. We're going to be looking for some feedback from each academic department as we redo your web page and on, selling your program and making it interesting and engaging to students. And so, and I say Ashley Brackett, and of course, Lauren and Public Affairs are all part of this team as well as we kind of look at these new pages. All right. Our goal is to do this January 2021, so it's right before the new fall semester, or the new spring semester starts. So hopefully we can all stay on track with that.
And next up is looking at student success teams, and just a brief overview of what student success teams are. They're centered around an area of interest, and they're made up of a collective of student services, academic affairs, faculty, staff, As you can see here, there's a couple of key players that are involved within that area of interest to make sure success teams are good to go. And essentially their job is to make sure that they work with the students who are most at risk of not necessarily completing classes, or even like working with withdrawals, or maybe if monies are issues, things like that, to be able to work with students to be able to create a nice successful team. That way when they know, like for instance, when we talk about our first pilot here, they know that David is the counselor who is going to be working specifically with them versus the general statement of go see counseling. So it's a lot easier for a student to go see someone who they may know their face already and have their connection with versus sending them to some arbitrary department to try to figure out on their own. So we are really excited though for this fall. We're actually going to be starting off our first success team with industrial technology, yay. So we'll be working with the faculty out there as well as counseling. We're going to be working at creating just these great partnerships to make sure that students are successful within that department. It worked out perfectly that we were working already with this department because of everything that's happened with COVID. This is one of our most hit departments there, and so in areas of interest. So we want to make sure that those students feel supported. And what we want to keep working with this is that we want to be able to measure those outcomes and see what is the things that we really want to do and what are the things we can do, and then what other things do we need to make sure that we include other players in here. Now this is just going to be a pilot, so that means that we're going to be gathering all that data, making sure that we have everything we need in order to be able to help the rest of those areas of interest launch and be ready to go. Speaking of which, we want to make sure that we start rolling out some more of those areas of interest once we've completed the survey and been able to have input from the campus community. So within the next calendar year, it got chopped off right there. There we go. Calendar year, you'll see a more pop up. You'll definitely see more information happen. And at the end of this presentation, we'll be able to give you a little bit more of how to actually stay connected with us through that process. So next up, we had our Ensure Learning group, and like I said, they had a very, very successful spring and summer semesters. Every other Friday, they were hosting different Making the Move sessions, and they were very well attended. The very first session that we had, we were kind of nervous to see what would happen. We're like, oh, what's going to happen? Are people going to show up? It was through Zoom. Maybe people are already feeling Zoom fatigue. And we had roughly about 40 people who showed up. And then we also made it available via recording for other people to be able to watch it at the end of this. So it's pretty nice to kind of see everyone really engaged. We've had faculty and we've had staff both present, and it is open to any constituency group. If you feel that you have something that you want to share to the campus community, feel free to go to Liz West or to Susie Kopecki, and they can get you connected with what you need to do to be able to make the move.
And just, some shameless self-promotion. Diana and I are teaching the first one this semester in 2 weeks. So we will be hosting one on customizing your Canvas course.
You don't say.
I do.
Oh, wow. And like I said, it's very easily it's already going to be archived easily for people to be able to log into it. Right now, it's being blasted out via email, but we're trying to find a permanent home for all of these. And our big motto for this is it's by Hancock for Hancock. So this is all homegrown. We have not asked anybody from the outside to come in. And because we know that collectively there is so much wisdom within our college that we want to share it with everybody. And I said that already. Perfect.
All right, and the last goal that we're going to talk about is with our innovative scheduling group. And so, as Antonio mentioned, what this group worked on over the spring semester was reviewing our practices at Allen Hancock and identifying gaps in scheduling practices, as well as looking at what other schools and institutions are doing. And so their major goal this semester, this team is going to work with department chairs as well as try to come out to your department meetings and do some faculty surveys and really engage in in-depth discussions about our scheduling practices and thinking about how we're scheduling and if we're doing what's best for students and what we could do better. And so the goal, as we mentioned, is just really working on what's going to be the most equitable for our students, what's going to help them get through their programs in a timely manner, saving time, saving money, and just thinking about eliminating some of those barriers that we have. And so this group has been doing a lot of research, and they are looking forward to coming out and to engaging with you. And so start thinking about that in your departments so that you can share with them.
Cool. And our very last slide over here is that we do want to invite you all to attend our fall kickoff. This is where we're going to really focus on our success teams. We're going to unveil our new areas of interest at that time. It's going to be October 2nd, so that is a Friday, and an email will be out shortly to follow with more details on that. We encourage everyone to attend. Make sure you work with your supervisors to make sure that you have the clear to be able to attend. Supervisors, hopefully you will find the importance in this and allow your team to be able to attend this. It would be very beneficial. Everybody is a key player in this, so may not be mandatory, but it's something that's strongly encouraged, and we both would really love to be able to see you all there virtually.
Thank you so much.
Jenny and Antonio, thank you. And I think I turned this back on, didn't I, Brian? I did. So he's back. Oh, he needs his mask. I'm sure you're all like us. Every time you're watching a TV show now, every time somebody gets close to each other in a movie or something, like, why are they sitting so close to each other? So I want to thank everybody who's taken a part of, been a part of getting us back up and running. The college has done some amazing things and has shown our nimbleness and has shown our ability to think creatively. When you look across our academic programs, and we went through program by program to try to determine how we can offer these classes remotely, and for the programs we can't, we have a clear plan for how we can offer those programs in a safe manner with social distancing. The pandemic plan should be at the campus graphics sometime today, I think. I'm looking at Noemi, she's nodding yes. Dr. Ornelas, Dr. Curry, and our administrative team really worked hard to put that together, contacted each of the people in their various areas. We put up barriers across campus, as you saw. I want to thank our PCPA friends. They got a whole bunch of people who were really good at building stuff, so they started building stuff on campus to help keep us all safe. I just want to remind us of the importance of our students. If you want to see a fascinating presentation, Dr. Murphy gave one to the board on Tuesday night about the impact of having the excused withdrawals in our students. And a lot of that conversation was about how our data for that year is going to have an asterisk. The 2020 data are going to say, yes, we had this record number of excused withdrawals, or even a record number of withdrawals. Our outcome scores for that, depending on how you count it, they either look really good or they look like we dropped off some. And that conversation about having data as an asterisk is important, but we need to remember what those asterisks represent, and they represent our students. And every time our students can't complete a class, can't get closer to finishing their program, they're more at risk for dropping out. We've been talking about this for years. We know our students are right on the margin. We know our students are one traffic ticket away from being out of school. We know our students are one family illness away from being out of school. So every time something happens that delays their ability to be successful, that's a potential tragedy for them and for their family. So when we think about what that asterisk means, that means real students, real people who've been delayed in completing their programs. So I want us all to focus and really maintain that concentration on the fact that our students are among the neediest students in the state. We know that many of our students are not just first-generation college students, they're first-generation high school students. So we need to make sure that our processes welcome them in, that we're having the same conversations with them, that our syllabus is as clear to them as it is to us. How many times, even this morning, I was having to answer a community member who was upset about the county's social distancing rules and who didn't understand the document the county had sent out and made a bunch of assumptions because he didn't understand the context behind that memo. I understood the context and had to spend some time explaining that context. Think about our syllabus, it's the same thing. Our syllabi need to reflect the context for the students because they don't understand all the time what's going on, and they don't have parents at home who can ask the right questions to make sure the students understand that syllabus. We're set up, our entire industry is based on doing the opposite of what you would do in a pandemic. We're designed to bring people together, to put them in small spaces, to have them engage with each other in a close manner, and we can't do that. So I'm grateful for all of you that are doing your best to make sure that students have an experience that is as close as possible to being face-to-face. And I hope you'll join me, join the protectrespect.org website and the others in the community who are really encouraging people practice social distance, do the things that we need to do as a society, make some sacrifices so that hopefully we can get past this and soon be back to having students on campus, because this is a great place to be, and it's so much more fun when this room is full and when you have your gadgets. By the way, everybody gets one of these, and we've got the little neck gaiters that'll be coming in, so we'll be sending those out. But take your time to really protect yourselves, protect your families, and let's get our students back together as soon as we can. So thank you for watching. We had over 260 people here today. Let's have a great year. Have a great afternoon.